this a shot. Oh, this is great. So, oh, okay, we're gonna try to we're gonna fix this garden hose. So it's a pretty standard goodie. Let's find the problem area, shall we? The easiest way to find the problem area is one of these expanding hoses. When you have a leak, is to turn it on and see where all the water comes out. I did that earlier on, and it happened right here. And when this hose expands, the water just sprays out of the side. It's pretty embarrassing. It's not really embarrassing at all, but it's not very efficient because, well, the water is going to take the easiest route to get out of the hose. And if this break is halfway down the hose, when I spray the trigger here, some water does come out, but there's still a lot of water coming out here. And with these expanding hoses, it's real important that the integrity is through the whole hose, because inside of this cloth cover there's a rubber tubing running in there. Well, you'll see it in a moment. And yeah, so the split is here. The rubber tubing inside has got a crack in it. I've actually marked it by taking a piece of the rubber tubing that I cut out another time I did repower one of these hoses. And let's see if you can see this. When I stretch the tubing, you can see that it's pretty old and ready to fail. So that's what's running inside of this, and all of these little cracks in here have the potential of failing. So I like to take a vice grip, and I'll clamp it on over here somewhere on one side of the problem area. I don't want to clamp it hard. I just want to clamp it hard enough to keep the inner and outer hoses together, and you'll see why that's important in just a moment. So I still have my fingers on where the damage is. I'm going to cut out this section of the hose, and I'm going to cut a little bit further on both sides so that I capture all of the problem area. All I can tell when it's leaking is there's water spraying out of this general area. So I'm going to come on this side. I found that these scissors are as good as anything at cutting this material. I just have to make some cuts. You want this to be as clean a cut as you can make it. When I did that, you may have heard the rubber hose snap inside of here. It snapped back a little ways. Snap back to where this clamp is holding it. So there, I know that's a good end. Now I have to go further to this side now. This is where the actual split is. I'm going back further to this side, and I have to make another cut. I'll come back about here probably, and I have to make another cut. You need to be careful when I'm doing this to pinch further down the hose. This is the cut end. Further down the hose, I need to make a pinch to hold the outer and the inner hoses together. Otherwise, when I make this cut, the inner hose is going to snap back as far as it can until it's lax, and that can leave me with a handful of this outer hose, and then I have to fish through to pull it out, kind of like pulling out a drawstring through a set of sweatpants or a hoodie. Cutting across. There we go. And there's the section I cut out. Okay, there's the outer hose, you can see, and there's the piece of inner hose. You can see that outer hose is really crunches up because that's how much outer hose covers that much inner hose when it's in the non-expanded edition version. So ultimately this rubber will stretch to about that length. Okay, disposing of that. I'm still holding these two together. If you have any questions, I'll take a look at the screen every now and then. So here we have I've already made the cut. I've cut out the bad section of hose. And now I'm going to slide this down so I can get some of the rubber part out. Okay. The new fitting, since we're putting it in the middle, is one of these splice fittings. It has connectors on both sides. I can unscrew this compression nut, or this is all a compression fitting. I'm going to take off this white compression ring part. Now, I'm going to take the compression nut and I'm going to slide it down over the rubberized part. And then I've got to get some of this, I got to get this other outer hose kind of tucked in. Okay. Then this nut, this compression nut, goes with the skinnier end. You'll see it's kind of bigger at one end than the other. The skinnier end is going to be facing the rest of the garden hose, and the fatter end is going to slip up here and push up against here. So they use these kind of fittings, these compression fittings, in water applications a lot because they're pretty effective. Now I've got to push this nozzle down into the hose. You can see this rubber hose is not in great condition, but that's this is, by making these repairs, is how I buy another 2 or 3 years of garden hose life out of these expandable hoses. I'm just working this down so that the rubber hose is going to be flush with the bottom of this fitting. Now, it helps to be wet and maybe to dip the nozzle into some water before you do this. It just can save some time and effort. Okay, then I'm going to push this white compression nut down. You'll see there's a notch cut in it, and there are these tabs on both sides. I guess there's only one tab. There's a tab right here. Depending on the fittings you buy, some have these tabs at both ends, but they go into the slot. So as I push this down, it's kind of tough. It's a very tight fit, and it's tough to get this to push down, but you can do it. I can do it by pushing on both sides here and just working it down. Sometimes it helps to pull back a little bit on the rubber hose here. And then as I relax the rubber hose back, I'll push down on the white compression nut with my fingers. And you'll see it's working down. So I want to get it all the way down, and it's sliding down. And there we go. You see that the white nut is slid into place. Now I need to pull this up and screw it down. But what happens is I need to make sure I capture this outer hose in there also. Otherwise, when the water pressure comes on, this inner hose is just going to get a big bulge in it and explode. It's this outer hose that keeps the inner hose from bulging and exploding like that. So I found that it's easiest to just use like a straight screwdriver and tuck this in a bit. Now, there's kind of a question as how far to tuck it in. Well, you want to get it tucked in enough that, well, you want to get it all the way through there basically. And I'm going to pull up on the outer hose once I get some of it tucked through here. There it comes. There we go. Now I've got the outer hose pulled through and it's all the way around. I just want to pull this outer hose up far enough to where it covers the white nut. But I don't want to get any of it over the black part. I want to cover this white nut, and I want to get it about flush with the white nut here, but I don't want to get over the threads, because when I pull this green nut back up and screw it onto the threads, that stuff is going to get in the way. So it's a balancing act, and this is kind of the worst part about this whole process. You'll see I've got it up in there in the area, and now the whole game is to get this green nut to slide up to those threads and to catch on those threads and then to screw on. And this is where it's a game of millimeters. I'm pulling back on this outer hose a little bit, and I'm pushing down on the green nut to get it to where the threads will start matching. And once they do, then we can do it all again with the other side. Okay, I can hear it snapping. It's almost there, but this outer hose is getting in the way of the threads again. Here we go. And looks like it, but it's not quite there. And this is where if I'm in a hurry when I do this, it's super duper frustrating. So I usually do it when I'm in a little less stressful state of mind. And I'll be honest, some of these fittings that I buy from Amazon are a little harder to work with than some others. You just have to get that first thread to catch. There we go. And we got it. Okay, now I just need to do it again for the other side. So let's see, I don't see if I have an indicator of how long that took, but I like to do it in real time. I wanted to do a real-time stream live so that you all could see what was involved. Now I got to do the other side. And here's where the rubber hose did pull back. It's about here right now, so I have to slide this. I'm pinching it back here, and I have to slide the outer hose down until I can see the inner rubber hose again, because that's what we need to work with. Just a nice, happy little inner hose. You know what? I'm going to cut some of this outer hose off. I'm still pinching this, by the way. But I'm going to remove a little more of this outer hose. Because I took out, well, it just makes it easier for me. This is like a 100-foot hose. There's plenty of room there's plenty of give here. So I just pulled out a little more section. That'll make it a little easier for me to get the end of the rubber hose through. There it is. So we're going to do the same thing on this end. I'm going to pull off the green nut and pull off the white compression nut. I'm going to slide the green nut down over everything. I'm going to slide the white compression nut down with the pointy end facing back toward the hose. Okay, I'm going to put the hose barb into the end of the rubber internal hose. Just working it on down. You want to get it all the way up to it's seated all the way to the bottom. Game of millimeters, like I said. Okay, then we have to get this white piece down here. Remember the notch and the tab? I'm pulling back on the rubber hose now to kind of make this a little thinner here. As I stretch the rubber, there's a little less rubber on the barb, and so it makes it easier for me to push down the white nut. You'll see it's almost all the way down there now. Okay, it's down. Now the last part, which seems like the easiest part, is getting this. Look how easily this threads right down here. Look how easy that is, until we introduce the outer hose again. Just need to get it all the way around, get it into the end. There we go. I can see if you look inside the green part, you can see the outer hose all the way around. That's all I need. Now I'm going to try to make sure that I can see some of the threads by stuffing it down there a bit. Slide this up, and I just have to get that thread to catch. Oh, it worked. Yes. I'm glad the first one was a little bit of a pain to show you, because it would have been unfair to lead you to believe that it always worked like the second one did. Now I'm just going to crank them both down. And let's give it a try, shall we? Here we go. You'll watch the hose expand as the pressure builds. And there we go. The hose is now pressurized, and it's dry. And there's a leak. And this is why it's a lot less stressful to just buy a new hose. There we go. Just took another half turn or quarter turn on the nut there. Okay. You can do this to a hose a few times, and unless you snag it again, what happens, how these get messed up, is if they get dragged across concrete and get friction rubbed, or if they snag on like a rose thorn, which is what happens around here, or a thorn from a bougainvillea. That's what gets mine all the time. Anyways, there we go. And we have full water again. Whee! Whee! Thanks for watching the video.